Live. Okay, this is my first live stream. I have no idea if anyone's watching. I have no idea if I'm doing it right. I have no idea if this is working at all. My name is Phila Beckin, the Rabbi from another planet. Please like, share, and subscribe, and ring that little bell so you're notified when new videos drop. I am joined with my guest today, Rabbi Yochanan Bechhofer, who, hang on a second, let me just press this little button. I'll bring him on board. And there he is. Hello, Rabbi Bechhofer.
Hi, Tzvi. Happy Hanukkah to you.
Happy Hanukkah. Yes, for me, it is the first night of Hanukkah. For you, you are, about 5 hours away.
That's right. Exactly 5 hours away till Hanukkah comes in here. So it's good to get a little bit of the light and holiness of Hanukkah through the internet from your side of things.
Oh, hi. We have somebody just come in. The towns of Wayne Chiang. Just hello. Hey, how you doing?
Hi.
Fine. So, Rabbi Bechhofer, I first met when we were in... we call it a rabbinical ceremony, but it wasn't. It was the lowest grade of rabbinical ceremony humanly possible. But in the Valley of the Blind, Rabbi Bechhofer was indeed king. So we've known each other for years. Rabbi Bechhofer is starting his own channel. It's a channel going to be dealing with politics and theology, I would say. Rabbi Bechhofer, would you like to explain your channel slightly for us?
Okay, I call it 3 Ps in a podcast. We're going to talk about politics, philosophy, and also physics and science. We'll deal with questions of reconciling faith with reason, Torah and science. And also, in addition to that, I will be doing my regular learning schedule online for all those to join. So it'll be as if, being in yeshiva. I'm also going to do my daily quotas in Talmud, Mishnah, and Rambam online, in addition to sharing my thoughts that I called the 3 Ps in a podcast. So as if you want, you can get a whole yeshiva education also. By coming to visit my site, my channel. Either catch me live if you miss any dissertation, presentation live. You could always, it will always be cataloged there for you to hear anytime.
Right. You have hundreds of videos on your channel right now. Bill West just came in. Hi, Bill. Thank you for joining us. And just so everybody knows, the reason this is on my channel tonight, we are going to be talking about the state of Star Wars. Rabbi Bechhofer, are you aware? When was the last time you saw Star Wars? You saw the original trilogy, right?
Oh, yeah. Look, the original one came out before I was bar mitzvahed. And then the last one I caught in a theater before I stopped going to the theater was The Empire Strikes Back.
You never saw Return of the Jedi?
So now so of course between me and you, of course, there's a public forum. So it's not between me and you. Even though at the point when I became a rabbinical student, it's improper. Yeah, it's not considered to be, it's not good to be caught in a movie theater. I did catch over the years on home video here and there, kind of made up the main ones, like Return of the Jedi. And and those two about the life and times of Anakin Skywalker. And I don't know. I understand it's like branched out, and there's been like so many. So let's say for my total Star Wars watching, I know 5 movies maybe.
Okay, fine. So we're going to be talking about Disney Star Wars, which is a whole. So it's a lightsaber of a different color. Let us say. But before we get into that, I just want to talk more about your channel. So the current day politics, I know, has grabbed your interest. Just give us your basic feelings about the state of politics today, the presidency, the president. Where are you on our cultural divide?
I mean, look, I've been saying recently, it's Hanukkah 2019. It really is Hanukkah 2019. It is really all about a cultural war right now. This is not the old world politics where, don't vote for him because he's just going to steal your money. Vote for me so I could steal your money. It's politics has gone way beyond that over here with the Trump presidency. It's taken on, it's become something totally else. First of all, we have a president that actually promises things and does them. That breaks the golden rule of politics. Right? He keeps his promises, and that's probably why many people hate him. But he's also what's special about the Trump presidency is that you have to look at the results and get past the narrative. Look at the rock hard results. Look at the economy. Look at the trade deals. Look at him making NATO pay their fair share. Look at him stay on. So America doesn't keep getting ripped off from all these other foreign countries. Look at his unmitigated support for Israel. Right? Look at the hard results, which is what what a presidency should be about. Like when I hire a plumber to unplug my toilet, I don't care how he tweets. Right? I don't care how he tweets. I just want him to do the job. Right? We hired him to do a job, and he's doing a fantastic job at it. Right? So so it makes you wonder, why do they hate him so much? Because he's breaking the rules of politics in general, the golden rule of promise but don't keep them. And but there's something else. He is supporting the conservative, values, biblical values, the state of Israel, the stuff that the left-wing secular atheistic world hates. So I think Trump derangement syndrome, what's fueling this derangement, that people are unhappy despite all the blessing that the president's bringing about, is that it's really a war against conservative values. I think that's what's at the root of it's fueling the derangement.
You know what I think is, like, even more than that, deep down in the core, it's just a hatred for biblical values. Like when you scrap everything away, it doesn't matter if you're atheist or not. If you're comfortable with biblical values, you're fine with it. If you're not, you hate him. That's really, I think, that's where that fault line lives. Let me ask you: have you ever heard? Yes, have you ever heard this theory? I think by Rabbi Kesed, that he believes that there are 70 nations in the world, 70 different nations. The Jews are one nation. Another nation is Edom. They also, I'm telling the audience, not you, Rabbi. Edom is the brother of
the descendants of Esau, right?
Yeah, fine. Right. So that's where Rome comes from. So the only way this guy is described as being big and red and hairy. So this Rabbi Kesem is convinced that Trump is the Messiah for the nation of Edom. And there's this part in it where Jacob is going to meet with Edom after being exiled for like 20 years or so, 40 years, when he's coming back, and he's worried that Edom's going to kill him. But it works out okay, and then they go off, and he says, Edom says to Jacob, "Would you like to go and walk with me?" And says, "No, I got too much stuff, but in the future we will walk together." So his theory is that this is that future. We're in the future where that the two sons of Abraham, Isaac, both Jacob and Edom, are walking together now, with the Messiah of the Edomite nation being Donald Trump, walking in a generally, biblically friendly way.
I mean, look, I could definitely see that as being possible. I mean, to say it, with certainty, you'd have to be a prophet. Yes, there is an idea that was reflected one time earlier in our history. One time earlier, right? When after the Second Temple was destroyed, and we were in danger of the oral law being forgotten. Right, there was a good emperor in Rome, Antoninus. Some think it was Mark Antony. I'm not sure if it. Antoninus. He and Rabbi and the Reviewed the Prince, who wrote the Mishnah, they were on the best of terms. They were very close, and he provided a period of relief and prosperity that allowed us to get on our feet, and for Rabbi, the Reviewed the Prince, to write the Mishnah and save, it put the oral law in a form that we retain until this day. So, and it is Rashi, the great biblical commentator, says that already when Rivka was pregnant with Yaakov and Esav, so she went to, she was So those kids were kicking a lot, and she was pretty frustrated. So she went to the prophet because there wasn't ultrasound yet. So she went to the prophet instead, right? See what's going on. He said there are two great people in your womb. So great people referring to Rabbi and Antoninus. Rabbi who descended from Jacob, and Antoninus who descended from Esau. So we've had this model one time earlier in our history of of Yaakov and Esau acting as brothers and helping each other. And yes, maybe this the Trump presidency is that. I want to tell you something. I can't help wondering whether Trump himself is not secretly Jewish, not just that he has a Jewish daughter and Jewish son-in-law and Jewish grandkids, because he gets the Trump derangement syndrome treats President Trump like the derangement of anti-Semitism has treated Jews throughout the ages.
100%. That is 100% why I'm on board with it. Like I kept seeing CNN and like MSNBC talking all this stuff about Israel, which I knew was qualitatively not true. I just knew it wasn't. And then I saw them exactly the same things, which they say he said this. I'm like, I just saw him. He didn't say that. There was nothing of the kind. But we live in deranged world. What can we say? Speaking of derangement, so the reason this chat tonight, this particular flavor of derangement is there is a cultural, what we call the SJW takeover of culture has been going on for like the last 5 years. The SJW are the social justice warriors. They are the anti-Trumpers, the people who cannot stand the Trump derangement syndrome people. So
I would say the Hellenists of if you permit me, the Hellenists 2019. Yes.
Tonight is the first night of the holiday of Hanukkah. Hanukkah was basically a war between was a civil war between the Jews and Hellenists. The Hellenists were the SJWs of the day. They really were. Right. And so Hanukkah is a celebration of a major victory over the SJWs. So a few years ago, about 5 years ago, we heard that Disney was buying Star Wars. Now, I think that was a good thing because I went to Disney World and their Star Wars ride there was fantastic. They seem to really get it, and they have a lot of money, a lot of resources. What I didn't realize was it was going to be awful because Disney were of course the company that released the Access Hollywood tape during the 2016 election to derail his campaign, which under any other circumstances would have done that, but unfortunately, he had the good grace to be running against the worst candidate of all time, so he was saved. But so this is what Disney has done with Star Wars, and it's created something called the Fandom Menace, which we're in right now. So welcome to the Fandom Menace. So the first movie they put out was by a guy called J.J. Abrams. It takes place, 30, 40 years after Return of the Jedi. Starts off on this planet called Jakku. And there's a girl there. Of course, the central character has to be a girl. Actually, it doesn't start off with her. It starts off Stormtroopers. Oh yeah, starts off Luke Skywalker's missing. They don't know where Luke Skywalker is. Princess Leia has sent her best pilot to find a clue to find Luke Skywalker. He's been missing for like decades. So he finds a clue on this planet called Jakku. This I can't remember. This old guy has a part of a map to get Luke Skywalker. As he's there, the people who evolved out of the remnants of the Empire, called the First Order, arrive, led by a Darth Vader-esque like figure. He's wearing a mask. He's obviously a Force user, and he captures the pilot, a guy called Poe Dameron. But he manages to get the bit of the map into his droid, this little ball droid that runs away and goes and hides.
Like R2D2 type of thing?
Sorry?
It was like this little droid is like an R2D2 type of thing?
It was like a cuter R2D2. It was like completely spherical. It's like a ball. It's actually, again, the first movie I really enjoyed. The first movie I thought they were on something really good. Mm-hmm. So the droid is found by the scavenger. This world, Jakku, was the Imperial shipyard. So, and that's the site of the final battle, like 5 years after Return of the Jedi. So there's all these like crashed Star Destroyers in the desert, and The Imperial Walkers all destroyed. Oh, Glenn Adams just came in. How you doing, Glenn? So and yeah, so she's a scam, and she finds a droid. She's offered like lots and lots of food to exchange the droid. That's what they live off. And she somehow meets up with the so one of the stormtroopers when they're capturing the guy, he can't kill anyone. He's all freaked out and he runs away, and they send him for reprogramming, and eventually he breaks out the resistance fighter, and they escape to Jakku to find the droid. They crash, and you think the Poe Dameron is dead, but he turns up later, and essentially this ex-stormtrooper and the scavenger meet up, and they get together and they escape. They're trying to find a ship to escape in. They find this old derelict ship, the Millennium Falcon, and they escape in the Millennium Falcon. So it's very cool right now. And then so they just get out of Jakku, and then they're taken in by another massive spaceship, which turns out to be Han Solo. Han Solo's been looking for Millennium Falcon for years. He split up with Princess Leia. This is our first like heartbreak. Turns out the Darth Vader type figure is really Han Solo and Princess Leia's son, Ben Solo, who's turned to the dark side of the Force under the new bad guy who they build up called Snoke, Supreme Leader Snoke, and he's now taken on the name Kylo Ren. I'm trying to remember all the bits and pieces. You go and meet Princess Leia for a bit. Han Solo sees her. You haven't seen her for a while. And then they find out that there's a new super imperial base that can blow up 20 planets at once. Called Starkiller Base. That's what J.J. Abrams does. He just like, let's do it much bigger. So they work out they got to knock out this base. And they end up in this other planet at one point where this mystical type bar owner, like who's hundreds of years old, has somehow got Luke Skywalker's old lightsaber that he dropped in Return of the Jedi when his hand was cut, not in Empire Strikes Back, when his hand was cut off. And she touches it, and suddenly she has this incredible connection to it. And she's also like she's a very adept in the Force. She's very naturally adept in the Force. Basically, so the whole thing ends up on this place called Starkiller Base, where they're trying to stop it blowing up planets. Kylo Ren meets his father on this big bridge, and because Han Solo is trying to turn him back to the good side, and he's about to do it, but instead he lights his lightsaber, killing his father, and let him fall off the bridge. But again, I didn't blink during this whole movie. I was like, oh, and so how does it end up? They blow up the base. They make it back to the rebellion hideout, the rebellion base, and I think that's pretty much how it ends. So basically you've got these new characters set up. They're quite interesting. You want to know, who is this new girl, Rey? How is she so adept in the Force? She's able to fight with Kylo Ren, who's been trained by years by this guy called Snoke, and she's fantastic at everything. She's a great pilot. She can do everything. Also, the Stormtrooper also seems to have, who's called Finn, also seems to have an affinity with the Force, and you don't really know what's going on. So there's a lot of interesting plots set up. There's this new Supreme Leader. You don't know who he is, where he came from. So there's all these interesting plot threads set up. 2 years later, The Last Jedi comes out, and everything implodes and is terrible. Oh, Man of Action. Hi, how you doing? Okay. He pretty much sold the whole plot, then added a mystery box. Yeah, that's pretty much right. Jar Jar's MO. So 2 years later, The Last Jedi comes out. The Last Jedi. Oh yeah, I remember how the film ends. The movie ends where they were trying to find Luke Skywalker, and they get to they find the planet that he's on. They get the piece of the map, and they go to the planet. And the last scene is they're on this island where Luke Skywalker is. And he doesn't say anything. He looks like Luke Skywalker. He's aged. He's like he looks distraught. And Rey hands out the lightsaber to Luke Skywalker for him to take it. Right. So it's a wonderful ending. And you're really drawn in. Last Jedi comes out, and Luke Skywalker takes the lightsaber, starts on straight away, takes the lightsaber, and he goes, throws it away. And he goes, I'm not interested. And then he jumps around the island. He milks a giant sea cow and drinks the blue milk from the giant sea cow for some reason. He's a miserable old hermit who has abandoned the Force, has shut himself off from the Force, and meanwhile, the First Order, the Empire, the remnants of the Empire, find the rebellion. They're called the Resistance now. Obviously, they're called the Resistance. They find the Resistance, and the Resistance now is a few fat old guys and lots and lots and lots of women and women of color, and everybody in charge is female. But they are also the worst military leaders in the history of the universe, even though it's a long, long time ago and far, far away. So they have a great plan. They're going to retreat slowly, and basically over the whole movie is a slow motion chase because they can't go to light speed, where everything gets runs out of fuel and dies. Like do you remember the ship at the end of Empire Strikes Back where he's having his hand? They just blow that up. That runs out of fuel. They blow it up. They attack the ship at one point. Oh, I forgot. Yes, let's see. They attack the ship at one point, blowing up the command deck. Admiral Akbar is sucked out. You don't feel it's like it was basically like somebody taking your Star Wars toys, breaking them, and like laughing in your face. Princess Leia sucked out the ship, and then somehow she has this new force ability that she's able to survive in space and fly back into the ship, even though she's deeply wounded and she's back in she spends a lot of the movie unconscious. So you have this other woman called Admiral Hodo, who has this terrible plan, but she won't tell anybody what it is. So there's the pilot from the first one starts to rebel against her orders, and he goes on his own missions. And she shuts him down. I think he gets in trouble. And at one point they have to go to a gambling planet to find a code breaker so they can break onto the Empire ship so they can deactivate their I can't even remember. It's too stupid. But they so they do that, and then it turns out this Admiral Hodo, her great plan was to retreat to this salt planet and go to a bunker where there's no way out, where they're all going to just be killed. So at the same time, Rey's given up trying to learn the Force from Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker has given her like a few tiny snippets of the Force and just tells her it's all awful and everything's bad. And so then she goes and joins the people on the salt planet. Luke Skywalker, for some reason, has a change of heart. He meditates and does a false vision of himself across the galaxy. So he's also a vision of himself is on this salt planet, causing Kylo Ren and I've got before we get there, the bad guys have got Rey, and they're going to they bring her before Snoke so he can turn her to the dark side of the Force. And then there's actually a good scene. There's a great scene where Kylo Ren and Rey join up and they kill Snoke. Like you're about to find out who he is and what's going on. No, boom, they just kill him. They don't. And they have this great fight, and they seem to want to join forces. But then Kylo Ren's like, no, I want to be bad, and Rey's like, but I want to be good. So they go back to the Salt Planet. And how does it even end? So essentially, Luke Skywalker shows up, causes enough of a distraction that the 4 or 5 people left from the Resistance can escape in the Millennium Falcon. Essentially, the Empire has won. The Millennium Falcon is the last ship left from the Resistance, and that's how the movie ends. It was about subverting expectations, they said. Rian Johnson. So Rian Johnson. That's how he got the name Ruin Johnson. So far. So then the question is, how on earth they begged J.J. Abrams to come back to try and fix this for the last part. The last part they were going to get this other director to direct it, but they fired him. They fire a lot of people in Lucasfilm. They fired him. I'm not sure they fired him or he quit because he saw what happened in The Last Jedi. I was like, I can't work from that. That's awful. So they begged him to come back, and they bring out this movie that came out about a week ago. It's a few days ago, and it's awful. It's just awful. Rey is now this. Have you ever heard the term Mary Sue?
Sorry,
Mary Sue is a female character who is the bestest at everything and can do anything. That's who Rey is now. Rey is this total Mary Sue. Turns out the Emperor is still alive. He'll thrown down the Death Star at the end of Return of the Jedi. Doesn't matter. He's fine. Death Star blows up. Doesn't matter. He's fine. Everything's fine. And he's now just trying to get. I don't even know what his plan is. It's about 4.5 hours of movie in about 2 hours. Definitely trying to win back the fans who had like left in droves. I don't think Star Wars is ever coming back, but this is the cultural wasteland that the SJWs have wrought upon us. Now, can you think of any parallel in throughout history of times where things seem very dark like this? But it's something you can give us hope to draw us into a better way.
Yeah. Well, I've never seen the entertainment industry so badly invaded. The entertainment industry, like film and whatnot, is only 100 some odd years old. Yeah. Wow. It's quite shocking. But just you can't tell me a little bit of what the plan was, for those the handful.
Oh yes, I remember. Yeah, it turns out. Okay, I forgot. Turns out in this movie that the Emperor has been on this secret planet which you cannot find unless you get this special Sith pyramid thing, right? And there's only 2 in the whole galaxy. Kylo Ren finds one. That's how he finds the Emperor. And then the whole thing is they trying to find. They know there's one on the wreckage of the Death Star, which is in the sea in Endor. So they try and get that. And but when they finally get there, you know what they find? There's a massive fleet of thousands of Star Destroyers, each of them armed with their own Death Star cannon. So, if you do the math, there's about a standing army of about 8 million people on this secret planet that nobody could find. My question is, why can't you just get a little one of them, and then you would have known where it is?
Mm-hmm.
Basically, his plan is to. His plan is just to blow up all the planets until he can be in charge. Oh, and he wants to take over Rey's body, and so she can be the ultimate Sith. I think. Oh, and then ultimate cringe. The most cringy part of the whole movie is at the end, after she survived. She Luke Skywalker couldn't defeat the Emperor. Darth Vader couldn't defeat the Emperor. Rey defeated the Emperor. After she defeated him, she goes to Tatooine and goes back to the shack that Luke Skywalker grew up in. And she meets a woman there, and she says, "Oh, we haven't seen people here for many years. So, what's your name?" And she goes, "My name's Rey Skywalker." And so that's she now identifies as Skywalker. You see a full scope of Luke and Leia, and the movie ends. And for some reason, I'm looking around the cinema. I'm watching the first night it came out in Israel, and everybody's cheering. And I'm like, "What are you doing? You can't cheer for this. What's wrong with you people?" But I didn't do that.
So, would you say that in their eyes, Luke Skywalker was full of toxic masculinity, and that's why they had to emasculate him?
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. It's not the way they build up Rey isn't just by making her a good character. They build her up by denigrating everybody. They did the same thing in Star Trek, by the way. They've done this new Star Trek series where they brought back Captain Pike and Mr. Spock, and they just brought them back to make them look stupid by this the African American woman who's the bestest at everything in on this show. That's what they do every time. They just destroy male characters to elevate female characters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the at the end of the day. I mean, at the core of it, we're taught in Jewish philosophy that the cosmic order is weaved out of male and female. Not just in living creatures, but even in spiritual creatures and even in the inanimate. There's a concept of male and female. The male plays the role of emanating, and going out, and the female plays the role of providing the base that absorbs all those benefits. And if you want to destroy world order, which the leftists want to do, you have to destroy the concept of male and female and blur those boundaries. Let me give you a little taste. We said that there's male and female even in the inanimate. So let me give you an example of that in Kabbalah. Okay, right? The rainwater that falls top down, right? That's called dukhra. That is called male, right? Spring water that comes bottom up from the ground up, that's called nukva, right? That's called, as it were, feminine waters, right? If you erode the boundaries between the two, everything gets swamped. There's like space in between for things to grow and exist, right? Because everything has its boundaries, that this doesn't break past this point, this doesn't break past that point. That's what creates cosmic balance and space for things to thrive in the middle. If you want to erode the world, you break those boundaries between male and female, you get a flood. So now this is exactly what happened earlier in our history, history of mankind, right? The flood of Noah, right? The flood in the days of Noah is because all boundaries between genders and species was broken, right? So parallel to that, we have a concept in Jewish philosophy of measure for measure, right? Mankind was breaking boundaries, including the boundaries which exist in monetary law. There are two things that go hand in hand, right? There's promiscuity and there's theft. Theft also is to break, boundaries. And you take money that doesn't belong to you. It's called socialism. Okay, that's what it is. You're going to take away private property, right? You're going to erode. You're not going to respect individual boundaries. The boundaries are meant to be in place, right? So everyone's going to use the same restroom, and we're going to punish you for being rich and take your money away from you, right? So you break all those boundaries of ownership, gender, and so God punished the world for that with a flood. Right? That's the whole concept of the idea of order or justice, right, is that everything is in its right place. Everything plays its role and is in its right place. When you try to erode those boundaries, that then you get floods. You get the world swamped, right? If we want to talk from a religious point of view, these guys are hung up about climate change, right? And the rivers are rising, and the world's going to get swamped. There's hurricanes, if you want nature to stay in its boundaries, why don't you make sure, law and order and the natural law that God created also, which is under your control and subject to your free will, stay in its boundaries. You can be sure nature will behave if we will behave, right? Mankind broke all the boundaries and the world was swamped. You want to avoid the world being swamped? You want to do what you could really do to make the world a better place and make sure we won't be subject to another flood again, right? Don't make the same mistake they made in the days of Noah. So now I'll just add one more point to bring it home to Hanukkah. The question is, there is a natural order. There is a natural order. We have to find it. It's not, plainly visible to the flesh eyes, The flesh eyes only see very, very hard facts. What the interconnection between the facts are very often is a mind game. We ascribe a narrative as to what the cause and effect is. The gift of a Torah, is God said, I'm going to reveal to you and show you how reality is wired up and what the way to live to optimize that reality and be in perfect sync with the natural order and the natural boundaries. You'll change the world for the positive without eroding any boundaries that are meant to be in place. The Greeks, with the Hellenistic culture said, we could decide for ourselves. So now it's very interesting. You sang the most sur tonight, right? And the most sur, qualifies what the Greeks, the Hellenists did is ufortzu homos migdalai. They broke through boundaries. They broke, our walls, right? Walls are good, right? They broke walls, right? They broke our towers, right? And defiled all the oils. Right? They broke the boundaries that the Torah set up, right? And wanted to give their own order, and that's expressed in space, with the boundaries that there were around the temple, right? That there were the Greeks made 13 breaches in that wall, right? Right. That wall, it represents the wall between the holy and the profane. Everything should, the holy and the non-holy, everything should be in its proper place, in the proper balance. They broke those boundaries, right? And it's called that they defiled all the oils. Oil, the Talmud says, represents wisdom. The Talmud says in the place called Tekoa, the people that had exceptionally high IQ because they were in the oil business, olive oil business, right? So to defile us is to defile the way of thinking. They broke the boundaries and they defiled the way of thinking that we should think, in man-made, I guess in this day and age, it's this invented ideas of social justice, right? Think in that corrupt way. That is what was the essence. So even if they didn't go as far as the generation of the flood, but they broke the boundaries of the Torah and tried to force us, into this alternate world order that they wanted to sell. Now I don't
Which is
know.
exactly what's happening today. They will not accept anybody who doesn't have their outlook.
Didn't you tell me? I just heard on the news. I mean, I don't know. You keep up what's going on with England. It's actually newsworthy now that Bojo's running the country. And we're going to see Brexit. Let's hope that it's just going to be the beginning of a lot of good stuff to come. Breaking away from that globalization and a bunch of old people in Brussels telling us all how we should be thinking. Right. So I don't know. It was reported widely in the news here in America on Friday that some woman got fired from her job just for stating that even though you could do whatever you want in the bedchamber, right? But a biological man is a man, a biological woman is a woman, and she was fired. Right? But it didn't stop there. But the author of Harry Potter, right, was widely criticized for saying that woman's damn right. Do whatever you want in the bedroom. No one's telling you what to do. Right, but a biological man, that is what a man is, and a biological, that's what a woman is, and now she's under fire. That's why I say, we're in Hanukkah 2019 all over again, and and our champion is President Trump, and I think that's why they hate him so much.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Although I tell you, I want to go back to something you said earlier, which I think is fascinating. You were saying that climate change exists as a result of the people who are terrified of climate change destroying the world.
That's right.
It's not. They think it's us destroying the world, and it's really, you're saying it's them actually destroying the world.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the time this in, Glenn Edwards just said in the chat, J.K. Rowling got in trouble for that, and I think Mark Hamill was also in trouble because he supported J.K. Rowling. Glenn, is that right? In a minute. This is a movie. I'm reading Man of Action. Okay, there's a lot going on in the chat, guys. This is my first live stream. I'm a boomer. I can't multitask. Like, if anybody wants to say anything to me, like at whatever my name is, Spielberg kid, or whatever. Yeah, I think that's my name. Just at me, and I will answer you. If not, it's too much going by. I can't deal.
I mean, I can't see the chat from my end. Is it really alive? Is it really? Are we sparking conversation?
Yeah. We actually got five people watching right now. Glenn just said, yeah, exactly. Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker, tying this in together in a beautiful symmetry. Mark Hamill got in trouble for supporting J.K. Rowling for supporting somebody who said men and women exist.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, and I've noticed this from the beginning. SJWs hate all form of boundaries. They hate walls. They hate countries. They hate genders. Any form of boundary they hate,
Right.
except when you going into their pockets, into their life. Then they like boundaries.
Right. No, that's it. I think it was Margaret Thatcher who said socialism is great until you run out of other people's money.
Who said that?
I think it was Margaret Thatcher.
Oh, I guess Thatcher. It sounds
like she said things so intelligent.
Her or Churchill.
What? Yeah.
Yes, I can hear. I can imagine her or Churchill saying it. Okay, fine. Listen, I'm going to need to wrap this up. Do we have any questions from the chat? Speak now, Glenn. Thank you for letting us know. Thank you everybody for coming. Thank you, Talents of Wayne Chiang. Thank you, Glenn. Man of Action. Who else is here? Bill West. I think that's everybody. Yeah, that is. Guys, thank you so much for showing up. I didn't think anybody would show up, but I'm genuinely touched that any of you did.
Okay, we had a good time.
What?
It's always a pleasure to talk to you either way, Tzvi. So, you know.
Oh, and please, everybody, go ahead and subscribe to Rabbi Bechhofer's channel. It's going to be a fascinating connection of science, theology, and politics. You heard a snippet of it tonight. I look forward to guesting on you whenever you want to bring in, like, you know, the dunce clown into your chat. I'm more than happy to come on board.
Okay. Me too. I also accept invitations to go on other people's channels also, gladly.
Great. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Have a great holidays. If you're a Christian, have a great Hanukkah. But if you're a Christian, have a great Christmas. By the way, I have to tell you, even though I'm Jewish, English Christmas is awesome, and I grew up with it. I still love the English Christmas food. My poor wife, right now, when she's out now, out playing mahjong now because we're old people. But when she comes home tonight, she's going to start making Christmas pudding and mince pies, which Americans will look at and their whole crucifix is up to. But if you grew up with it, it's like Marmite. Okay, thank you to everybody for coming. I'm going to end the broadcast now, and I've got 2 new videos coming out tomorrow. Everybody have a great day and have a great week.
Thank you.